Everybody, this is the practice assignment, division equations. So continuing where we left off, last time was adding and subtracting, this time multiplying and dividing. They pretty much follow the same steps. So for number one, it says what is the solution of the first. Okay. 2x. Now that is 2 times x. So since I see the operation of multiplication, to solve this, I have to do the inverse. I need to do out of this. Again, the reason I'm doing this is to isolate my variable. In other words, to get x by itself. 2 divided by 2 will give me 1. I don't have to put 1, I can just cancel them out and bring down my x, bring down my equal sign, and 8 divided by 2 would give us 4. So our answer for this one is choice B, x equals 4. Okay, number 2. Number 2 just says 50 equals 10g. So same idea. Don't get thrown off. So we do again. Line. So we separate terms on the left side and terms on the right side. Again, we're looking to get the variable by itself. So it says 10g, which is 10 times g. And since we see multiplication, once again, we have to do the inverse or opposite operation, which is to divide. Now I'm going to divide by my coefficient. Remember, coefficient, just a fancy math word that means the number in front of the variable. And once again, we must do to the other to keep our equation balanced. Okay, so on the left side, 50 divided by 10 will give us 5. Let's bring down our equal sign. 10 divided by itself is 1. Again, you don't have to put 1, just cancel them out. And bring down your g. So the answer is 5 equals g, or g equals 5, which is choice D. Okay, number 3. Number 3 just says 4d equals 20. Again, same idea. We see multiplication going on. 4 times d. So we know the inverse is to divide. So first, equal sign, draw a line. Again, we see 4 times d. So we need to divide by 4. Since we want to get d by itself, divide by that coefficient of 4. And keep the equation balanced. So whatever you do on one side of the equation, you also do the same to the other. So divide that by 4 as well. On the left side, we know 4 divided by itself is 1, so we can cancel that out. Bring down our variable d, bring down equal sign, and 20 divided by 4 equals 5. So our answer for this is choice B, d equals 5. Okay, let me just scroll down a little bit here so we get to the next few. Okay, so now we're down into some division problems. So this one says 1/2 y equals 9. So there are different ways I can solve this. Again, I can kind of see it as a multiplication problem. It says 1/2, which is the coefficient. 1/2 times y. Now what that's going to do, dividing fractions using but the way how I prefer to multiply reciprocal over 2 upside down. So I'm going to multiply by 2 over 1. The other side as well. 2 over 1. Remember, equal sign, let's draw a line. We should have done that first. But the reason why I want to multiply by the reciprocal, in this case 2 over 1, is because it's going to get rid of my fraction. So if again, there are different ways to multiply. So if I multiply across the numerators, 2 times 1 is going to give me 2. And then on the bottom, the denominator is 1 times 2 also gives me 2. And I know that 2 divided by 2 is just simply going to give me 1. So it doesn't matter what the fraction is, as long as I multiply by the reciprocal, where the variable is, it's always going to give me an answer of 1. Now I'm going to go back here for a second and undo what we just did. That was just to show you why we multiply by the reciprocal. But you don't even have to show that when you're doing your work, as long as, again, you simply understand that concept. Reason being, as I said before, there are other ways to multiply fractions. So what I like to do also, since I know it's going to give me an answer of 1, by multiplying by the reciprocal, what I like to do is to just simply cross cancel. So in other words, 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 1 divided by 1 is also 1. So once again, whether you cross cancel or you actually work out the multiplication on this side, by multiplying by the reciprocal, it's going to give you 1. Now again, we don't need to put 1. We could just bring down that variable y and our equal sign. And now on the right side, some of you may be confused since you see the whole number of 9, and then we have a fraction we're multiplying by 2 over 1. So another strategy I like to do here is just to make them both fractions. So remember, to make a whole number a fraction, just put it over 1. So it's really 9 over 1. So 9 times 2 is 18. Again, I'll just multiply it out so you see what I'm doing. And denominator 1 times 1 is 1. 18 divided by 1 is just 18. So again, you don't have to put 18 over 1. So I'll just go back here. As long as you know that 9 times 2 is 18, you can just go with that. So y equals 18. All right, number 5. 5 says 25 equals a over 5. Again, this is another fraction problem, so we want to do the same steps. So equal sign, draw the line. I just remembered KCF, so I'll show that to you here in a second as well. So 25 is a whole number. So just like in number 4 where we just had 9, we want to make that a fraction as well. So let's make the 25 a fraction, put 25 over 1. And now at this point, you may be confused and say, well, how do I solve this? There's no number in front of a. But you have to be careful. So when a variable is by itself, like it just has the letter a right here, right in front of that is an invisible number 1. So what we want to do, just take that away, just put a number 1. This way we're aware, or we know that there's a number in front. Now that's important because, again, to get rid of a fraction, we can multiply by the reciprocal. And now, in front of a, it really says 1 over 5. So I want to get rid of this fraction 1 over 5. As we did on the last question, you could just multiply by the reciprocal. So instead of 1 on top and 5 on the bottom, just flip it upside down. And the reciprocal is 5 over 1. Remember, whatever we do on one side of the equation, we must do the same on the other. So we have to Write the same exact thing. If I multiply the right side by 5 over 1, I also must multiply by 5 over 1. Now, on the left side, it says 5 over 1 multiplied by 25 over 1. So again, we multiply our numerators. 5 times 25. You can work it out, or you can use a calculator. But it's going to give us 125. 1 times 1 is 1. Again, you don't have to put 125 over 1. You can just go with 125. Because of 125 divided by 1 is still 125. But we have 125. Bring down our equal sign. And again, what we did on the previous problem in number 4, you can actually multiply on the right side. The numerator is 1 times 5 is 5. On the denominator, 5 times 1 is 5. And I know 5 divided by itself is 1. But again, you don't even have to do that. So I'll just undo that and cross cancel instead, which again I prefer. So 1 divided by 1 is still 1. Cross that out, cross that out. 5 divided by 5 is still 1. Cross that out, cross that out. And we're left with the letter A, which is our variable. Let's bring that down. So our answer is 125 equals A, or A equals 125, which is choice A. Let me just go back for a second to number 4, y equals 18. The answer is actually choice C. Okay, so before I go to number 6, which gets back into multiplication, I did mention before that I would also show you the other way if you don't want to multiply by the reciprocal. So just to do, I guess, number 4 again. So I'll do this and then I'll get rid of it. I'll erase it when I'm done. But this is another way to do number 4. The reciprocal of 1/2, which is 2 over 1, like how we did in number 4. What you could do instead is to just, again, if you see this as a multiplication problem, 1/2 y, or 1/2 times y, we know that, okay, equal sign, draw the line. But we know the reciprocal, or sorry, the inverse, the opposite of multiplying is to divide. So instead of multiplying 1/2 times y, we can divide by that coefficient of 1/2. And whatever we do on one side, we have to do the same to the other side. So 1/2 divided by itself, we know is 1. We can cancel that. Bring down y, bring down equals. But now here, when you're dividing a fraction, see it says 9 divided by 1/2. Remember, we have to use KCF, which stands for keep, change, and change. Meaning, we're going to take our 9. Well, again, we want to make it a fraction, so we're going to write 9 over 1. Then instead of dividing, since it says division, we have to change that into multiplication. That's the opposite. And once again, we have to change, or actually, in this case, flip. Sorry, keep, change, flip, my mistake. KCF, keep, change, flip. We have to flip our fraction of 1/2 into the reciprocal. Instead of 1 over 2, it's going to be 2 over 1. Now, 9 times 2 is 18. 1 times 1 is 1. And 18 divided by 1 is still 18. So as you see, even though we did it another way, in this case KCF, keep, change, flip, you still will get the same answer. Now it's up to you whether you want to do KCF to get rid of your fraction problems or whether you want to multiply by the reciprocal. Again, it's up to you. So whichever way you feel more comfortable with, go ahead with that. Okay, so with that being said, I'm now going to erase number 4 since we've done it twice now. We're going to get back into number 6. So let me undo all of this one by one. And it's going away. One more second. All right. So number 6. Number 6 says 7v equals 21. So to solve this, again, we see multiplication is going on in our problem. So first step, equal sign, draw the line. And we know it's multiplication since it says 7v, or 7 times v. And since we see we're multiplying, to get rid of it, we do the inverse, which is to divide. We divide by our coefficient, the number in front of the variable, which is 7, since we want to get v by itself. And whatever we do on one side of the equation, we also must do the same to the other. So also divide that by 7. 7 divided by itself is 1. Again, you don't have to put 1, just cancel out the 7s, bring down your v, bring down your equal sign, and 21 divided by 7 equals 3. So v equals 3. Okay, 2 more to go. Number 7. 7 says Ruby has a block of clay that weighs 14.4 ounces. She divides the clay into 6 equal pieces. To find the weight, W, in ounces of each piece, solve the equation 6W equals 14.4. All right, same steps, equal sign. Let's draw our line. Then we see multiplication in our problem. So 6 times W, or 6W, is multiplication. So what I want to do instead, I want to do the inverse, opposite operation, and divide by that coefficient, that number in front of the W, which is 6, just to get W by itself. And whatever I do on one side of the equation, I must do the same to the other. So also divide this side by 6. Just cancel off your 6's. Bring down your letter W. Bring down your equal sign. And again, you can divide this if you're doing long division or calculator, either one. But 14 divided by 4 is going to give us 2.4. So our answer for this, the weight is 2.4 ounces. All right, last but not least, we're down to the final question, which is number 8. So number 8 says, in a serving of 8 fluid ounces of lemonade, there are 32.8 grams of carbohydrates. Write and solve an equation to find the amount of carbohydrates in each fluid ounce of lemonade. So this time, it has not given us an equation. We have to read through the problem and create our own equation and then solve it to find the answer. So again, when you're given a word problem, good strategy always to annotate. In other words, pull out the key information, any key words or some numbers we can work with. So I see that we have 8 of carbohydrates. So to solve and figure out how many carbohydrates there are in each fluid ounce, what I have to do is to divide. So to set this one up, what I'm going to do is, let's say, write an equation to find the amount of carbohydrates in this. So what I have to do is divide 32.8 carbs. So 32.8x equals 8. And what I'm going to do now is to, sorry, one sec. Oop, I actually misread that, sorry. I'm going to do, let's see, write an equation. Sometimes I have to read it twice just to double check. So if you're in that position, then, don't feel bad. So we have 32.8 grams of carbohydrate, and what we need to do is to divide by 8. So if we do that, we're going to get 8x. So again, I need to know how many are here. equals 32.8. So that's the equation I'm going to set up, and I'm going to divide both sides by 8 since it says 8 times x, or 8x. So divide this by 8, and whatever I do to one side, I have to do the same on the other side. So also divide that by 8. 8 divided by 8 is 1. We can cancel that. Bring down our x, bring down our equal sign. And 32.8 divided by 8 is 4.1. So that 4.1 will be our answer. Okay, so rewatch the video. If you have any questions, let me know. And tune into the next one. We'll catch you next time. Thank you. Bye-bye.